We continue our Yangtze River tour and are entering a lake that is immediately upstream from the Three Gorges Dam. We see a city that has grown up to support it, a staging area for ships planning to enter the locks, a massive loading platform designed to handle the changing water level, and in the far distant haze we see the dam itself. We are entering the first of 5 locks. It will take 4 hours to step down through the locks. Notice the precise navigation of the ship as it glides into the lock. There is a second ship in front of us who will be sharing the journey today. We look back as they prepare to close the locked door behind us. It's after midnight and we're about to exit the last lock. The water level is dropping, and now we see the massive exit gates opening. The ship in front of us exits, and now it's our turn to pass through the gates. Passing through the last gate, we come out into the lower river. It's the next morning and time for a tour of the dam. We pass some newly constructed houses along the river and cross the bridge to the tourist center. After going through security screening, we are put aboard a second bus which transports us past the locks and the dam on the way to the observation site on top of Tenzling Ridge. As we ride the escalators to the lookout tower, we're reminded that China's founding father, Sun Yat-sen, first proposed constructing the dam in 1919. Then in 1944, John Savage, an American Bureau of Reclamation engineer, studied the project and selected this site in part because there was a bend in the river that could be used to separate the locks from the dam. Due to civil unrest, construction was not started until 1994 and completed in 2009. At the top of the ridge is the lookout tower. The relief on the side is dedicated to the ancient Ba and Chu people and the undertakings over history to harness the river. Below the tower is a fountain and a large metal display book describing the project. The dam cost $28 billion, but the economic impact is so great that it paid for itself in 10 years. To promote growth, they charge nothing to go through the locks. It's 1.5 miles across and has the largest power generation in the world at 22 gigawatts. That supplied 10% of China's power needs when it was built, but is now only 1.5%. Looking down from the other side of the tower, we see the locks. The terracing on the hillside shows that an entire mountain had to be removed to make a path for the locks. They are wide enough for 2 ships to pass, and each one lowers the water 200 meters. When the dam was built, people along the river who had to be moved by the dam were generally happy. They got new houses, pensions, electricity, and new kinds of work. People who lost their land when the dam was built were compensated or given replacement land higher up on the mountain. Most young people have left, but the old people have stayed. The dam also caused major environmental damage, but this was smoothed over by the government. They're now building a second set of locks to double the amount of ship traffic. It'll take 5 years and cost $10 billion. We walked from Tanzling Ridge down to the side of the dam. There we learned that the wall of the dam is straight rather than curved. This is called a gravity dam. One last pose and we're on our way back to the ship. We head down river past fishing boats and small towns. We notice colorfully decorated gravestones on the hillside and remember that yesterday is Qingming holiday, which is the one day a year when everyone cleans up and decorates grave sites. Continuing on, we begin to see larger freight ships and more populated areas. For lunch this day, we are joined by our excellent guide Roy and have a truly authentic Chinese meal, including chicken feet, pig's ears, pig's tails, jellyfish, aged eggs, and lotus root. This plus Peking duck, pork chops, good wine, and dessert made for an excellent meal filled with adventure. We passed through a single-stage lock uneventfully. Emerging from it, the river became much busier. On the shore, we see a swim club preparing to swim in the river. The ship has to blow its horn and change course to keep from running over a few of the swimmers. People here are using the river for boating, fishing, washing their car, and even washing their dog. As we cruise down the river, I will share some of the interesting facts I've learned about recent Chinese history. There was a civil war in China after World War II that lasted 4 years and was won by the Communists in 1949 under Mao Zedong. Mao implemented the Great Leap Forward in 1958 to 1961, where he confiscated all property, created communes, and forced educated people to relocate to farms. This was a terrible decision. It demotivated the workers, which caused production to plummet, resulting in the death of between 30 and 45 million people. During that time, 1.5 million people committed suicide. From 1966 to 1976, Mao had the Cultural Revolution, which had the goal of destroying anything old, including culture, customs, ideas, and habits. The Red Guard burned books, eliminated religion, and closed all schools and universities. Once Mao died in 1976, things began to change. Economic zones were created, hybrid rice was created, and the country began to open up. China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001 and reached the peak of national pride by hosting the Olympics in 2008. By 2013, China had become a leader in solar panels, transportation, and manufacturing. The quality of life had increased dramatically. The life expectancy had increased from 39 years in 1949 to 75 years today. The Communist Party remains firmly in command and uses censorship and strong-arm tactics to control every aspect of life. But in general, the life of the people is improving. So they don't care about or even understand the freedoms they're missing. Still, in a country of 1.4 billion people, it may be that capitalistic communism, acting as a benevolent dictatorship, is the best form of government. This morning we're going to visit an elementary school that is supported by Viking Cruise Lines. We pass through the city of Jingshou, observing the usual collection of vehicles, and continue through the small towns and out into the country where the school is located. There has been a city here for over 6,000 years, and 3,000 years ago it served as the capital for over 20 kings. Continuing into the country, we learn that Viking cannot give money to the school, so instead they buy computers and supplies. We learn that public school is free and mandated through the first 9 grades. Grades 10 through 12 are optional but are paid for by the parents. Starting in 2017, those grades will also be mandated and paid by the government. In big cities, private schools can cost up to $8,000 a year. We learned that after World War II, China tried to increase the population. Average family size was 4.7 children, and women who had large families were called hero mothers. But in 1972, the policy called One Child came into effect so that they could reduce their requirement for resources and the need for new jobs. The one-child policy ended in 2014. Couples wanted boys more than girls, so there were a lot of abortions and adoptions, and now there are fewer girls than boys. The bigger problem is that there aren't enough young people to take care of the old people. So now people can have 2 children, but the big decision is how do couples afford it if they also have to take care of 4 parents? Arriving at the school, we find the children lined up to greet us. Peg immediately began talking with the children and making friends. The girls put on a couple of dance routines. Peg joined the kids on stage singing "If You're Happy and You Know It." The boys kept busy playing ping pong. We followed the kids into the classroom and were led to our seats. A group of children recite their lessons. Roy fills in as teacher and shows us how to write USA in Chinese. Then he shows us how Chinese numbers are written. I must admit that written Chinese seems amazingly complicated. We say goodbye to these lovely children and are on our way back to the ship. We continue on down the river with our next stop being Wuhan. Wuhan is actually 3 towns divided by 2 rivers. During this short visit, we will stop at the Hubei Provincial Museum. A map in the lobby shows how Wuhan looked in ancient times. We saw a square water pitcher with phoenix design from 1300 BC, a bronze Yang bell from 1000 BC, a gold Buddha from 1400 AD, and a jade bidisc from approximately 10,000 BC. Other items include a figure of Tianwang, a Buddhist god from 600 AD, a tiger-shaped water pitcher from 300 AD, a bronze crossbow mechanism from the Han Dynasty 124 AD, and a pottery-shaped tomb stabilizer with man's face from 600 AD. We were directed into a theater to experience authentic ancient Chinese music and dance. Following the dance, we went directly to the airport for our flight to Shanghai. We arrive after dark and it's raining, but we walk down to the Hungpu River to the area known as the Bund. The word Bund refers to an island in the river that is shaped like a bun. The lights of the city are extraordinary. Shanghai started as a fishing village 5,000 years ago. Now it has 24 million people and over 4,000 buildings that are over 30 stories tall. The word Shanghai means kidnapped. There was once a bar on the border between the expat and the local area, and it said that any locals who went into the bar would be kidnapped into slavery and never seen again. The Jewish population built Shanghai into a banking and trade center. When the Japanese invaded in 1931, they moved to Hong Kong and made that fishing village into a banking center. But when the war was over, they came back to make Shanghai the banking center for the country. The next morning was sunny, and this is what the city looks like on a clear day. We're taken to the old part of town to visit Wu Garden. We cross a zigzag bridge over a pond filled with koi. Wu Garden was commissioned during the Ming Dynasty in 1559 and took 19 years to build. In the mid-1800s, the Society of Small Swords used the garden as a gathering place to plan their uprising against the French colonialists. The French destroyed the garden during the Opium Wars, but the area was later rebuilt. The central courtyard has what the Chinese refer to as feng shui. Feng shui is a sense of harmony and balance in nature and in all things. It brings peace of mind. Wu Garden has a great many figurines and carvings adorning every wall, roof, and corner. Each one tells a story and adds to the overall experience. After leaving the garden, the last stop is the Shanghai Museum, which holds the country's premier collection of relics and artifacts. I can't begin to do justice to this museum, but two displays particularly impressed me. The first showed costumes from the many Chinese minority groups, including the Arajan, the Maya Yao, the Uzbek, the Alopa, the Jinpao, the Yi, the Tu, the Tibetans, the Uyghur, the Jino, the Yao, and the Hane. The second display focused on the history of money. The earliest example of coins appeared in 770 BC. These were shaped like tools so that even if they weren't accepted as money, they still had value. These were quite heavy and awkward, and by 200 BC, round coins appeared, having holes in the middle so they could be threaded onto a rope. In 1300, the first paper money appeared, and from the 1600s on, both coins and paper money continued to become more refined with higher quality casting and improved printing. This culminated in 1820 with an exact copy of the U.S. silver dollar. The trip is over and we're on our way back to the airport. We hope you've enjoyed this movie as much as we enjoyed our China experience.